Rapunzel. There were once a man and a woman who had long in vain wished for a child. At length, the woman hoped that God was about to grant her desire. These people had a little window at the back of their house, from which a splendid garden could be seen, which was full of the most beautiful flowers and herbs. It was, however, surrounded by a high wall, and no one dared to go into it, because it belonged to an enchantress who had great power and was dreaded by all the world. One day, the woman was standing by this window and looking down into the garden when she saw a bed which was planted with the most beautiful rampion, Rapunzel, and it looked so fresh and green that she longed for it. She quite pined away and began to look pale and miserable. Then her husband was alarmed and asked, "What ails you, dear wife?" "Ah," she replied, "if I can't eat some of the rampion which is in the garden behind our house, I shall die." The man, who loved her, thought, "Sooner than let your wife die, bring her some of the rampion yourself, let it cost what it will." At twilight, he clambered down over the wall into the garden of the enchantress, hastily clutched a handful of rampion, and took it to his wife. She at once made herself a salad of it, and ate it greedily. It tasted so good to her, so very good, that the next day she longed for it 3 times as much as before. If he was to have any rest, her husband must once more descend into the garden. In the gloom of evening, therefore, he let himself down again. But when he had clambered down the wall, he was terribly afraid, for he saw the enchantress standing before him. "How can you dare," said she with angry look, "descend into my garden and steal my rampion like a thief? You shall suffer for it." "Ah," answered he, "let mercy take the place of justice. I only made up my mind to do it out of necessity. My wife saw your rampion from the window, and felt such a longing for it that she would have died if she had not got some to eat." Then the enchantress allowed her anger to be softened, and said to him, "If the case be as you say, I will allow you to take away with you as much rampion as you will, only I make one condition. You must give me the child which your wife will bring into the world. It shall be well treated, and I will care for it like a mother." The man in his terror consented to everything, and when the woman was brought to bed, the enchantress appeared at once, gave the child the name of Rapunzel, and took it away with her. Rapunzel grew into the most beautiful child under the sun. When she was 12 years old, the enchantress shut her into a tower which lay in a forest and had neither stairs nor door, but quite at the top was a little window. When the enchantress wanted to go in, she placed herself beneath it and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me." Rapunzel had magnificent long hair, fine as spun gold, and when she heard the voice of the enchantress, she unfastened her braided tresses, wound them around one of the hooks of the window above, and then the hair fell 20 ells down, and the enchantress climbed up by it. After a year or 2, it came to pass that the king's son rode through the forest and passed by the tower. Then he heard a song which was so charming that he stood still and listened. This was Rapunzel, who in her solitude cast her time in letting her sweet voice resound. The king's son wanted to climb up to her and looked for the door of the tower, but none was to be found. He rode home, but the singing had so deeply touched his heart that every day he went out into the forest and listened to it. Once when he was thus standing behind a tree, he saw that an enchantress came there, and he heard how she cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me." Then Rapunzel let down the braids of her hair, and the enchantress climbed up to her. "If that is the ladder by which one mounts, I too will try my fortune," said he. And the next day when it began to grow dark, he went to the tower and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me." Immediately the hair fell down, and the king's son climbed up. At first Rapunzel was terribly frightened when a man such as her eyes had never yet beheld came to her. But the king's son began to talk to her quite like a friend, and told her that his heart had been so stirred that it had let him have no rest, and he had been forced to see her. Then Rapunzel lost her fear, and when he asked her if she would take him for her husband, and she saw that he was young and handsome, she thought, "He will love me more than old Dame Gothel does." And she said yes, and laid her hand in his. She said, "I will willingly go away with you, but I do not know how to get down. Bring with you a skein of silk every time that you come, and I will weave a ladder with it, and when that is ready I will descend, and you will take me on your horse." They agreed that until that time he should come to her every evening, for the old woman came by day. The enchantress remarked nothing of this until once Rapunzel said to her, "Tell me, Dame Gothel, how it happens that you are so much heavier for me to draw up than the young king's son. He is with me in a moment." "Ah, you wicked child," cried the enchantress. "What do I hear you say? I thought I had separated you from all the world, and yet you have deceived me." In her anger she clutched Rapunzel's beautiful tresses, wrapped them twice round her left hand, seized a pair of scissors with the right, and snip, snap, they were cut off, and the lovely braids lay on the ground. And she was so pitiless that she took poor Rapunzel into a desert, where she had to live in great grief and misery. On the same day that she cast out Rapunzel, however, the enchantress fastened the braids of hair which she had cut off to the hook of the window, and when the king's son came and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me," she let the hair down, the king's son ascended, but instead of finding his dearest Rapunzel, he found the enchantress, who gazed at him with wicked and venomous looks. "Aha!" she cried mockingly, "you would fetch your dearest, but the beautiful bird sits no longer singing in the nest. The cat has got it, and will scratch out your eyes as well. Rapunzel is lost to you. You will never see her again." The king's son was beside himself with pain, and in his despair he leapt down from the tower. He escaped with his life, but the thorns into which he fell pierced his eyes. Then he wandered quite blind about the forest, ate nothing but roots and berries, and did not but lament and weep over the loss of his dearest wife. Thus he roamed about in misery for some years, and at length came to the desert, where Rapunzel with the twins to which she had given birth, a boy and a girl, lived in wretchedness. He heard a voice, and it seemed so familiar to him that he went towards it, and when he approached, Rapunzel knew him and fell on his neck and wept. 2 of her tears wetted his eyes, and they grew clear again, and he could see with them as before. He led her to his kingdom, where he was joyfully received, and they lived for a long time afterwards, happy and contented. 1. Vain. Someone who thinks too much about their appearance or abilities and cares a lot about what others think. She is vain about her hair. He keeps looking in the mirror because he is vain. 2. Grant. To officially give something or say yes to someone's request. The teacher granted her request. They granted him permission to leave early. 3. Splendid.
Very beautiful, impressive, or excellent in a way that makes you feel happy or amazed. The view from the mountain was splendid. We had a splendid dinner together. 4. Enchantress. A magical woman who uses spells or charm to control, attract, or influence people. The enchantress cast a spell on the prince. People feared the enchantress in the forest. 5. Pined away. To become weak, sad, or unhealthy because you miss someone or something very much. She pined away after her friend moved away. The dog pined away when its owner was gone. 6. Pale. Having very little color in your face, usually because you are tired, sick, scared, or cold. She looked pale after the long trip. He turns pale when he gets scared. 7. Ail. To cause pain or sickness, to have something wrong with your body or mind. What ails you? Asked the doctor. Her stomach ailed her all night. 8. Clamber. To climb up or over something using your hands and feet because it is difficult or steep. The children clambered up the rocks. He clambered over the fence. 9. Hastily. Quickly and without careful thought, often because you are in a hurry. She packed her bag hastily. He wrote the note hastily and ran out. 10. Clutch. To hold something very tightly because you are scared, excited, or don't want to lose it. She clutched the book to her chest. The child clutched his mother's hand.
11. Greedily. Meaning, doing something in a way that shows you want much more than you need, especially with food. Examples: he ate the cake greedily. The kitten drank the milk greedily. 12. Descend. Meaning, to move downward, go lower, or come down from somewhere higher. Examples: they descended the stairs slowly. The sun began to descend behind the hills. 11. Gloom. Meaning, a dark, sad, or depressing atmosphere or feeling. Examples: the room was filled with gloom. He felt gloom after hearing the bad news. 14. Consent. Meaning, to give permission or agree to something after thinking about it. Examples: she consented to the plan. He joined with his parents' consent. 15. Spun. Meaning, turned around quickly or made thread by twisting fibers like wool or cotton. Examples: the toy top spun on the table. The woman spun wool into yarn. 16. Braided. Meaning, woven or twisted together in a pattern, usually describing hair or string. Examples: she braided her long hair. The rope was braided tightly. 17. Tress. Meaning, a long, thick piece or lock of hair, usually from a woman. Examples: a golden tress fell on her shoulder. She cut a tress of her hair. 18. L's down. Meaning, an old phrase meaning a long distance down below the surface. Examples: the well was many ells down. The treasure was hidden ells down in the cave. 19. Mount. Meaning, to climb or go up something, or to get on a horse or bicycle. Examples: they mounted the hill. She mounted the horse easily. 20. Skein. Meaning, a long loose coil of yarn or thread wrapped together in a bundle. Examples: she bought a skein of blue yarn. The cat played with the skein. 21.
Weave, meaning to make cloth or patterns by crossing threads or to form something by twisting things together. Examples: she weaves baskets by hand. Spiders weave webs. 22. Snip-snap, meaning the fast, repeated cutting sound that scissors make. Examples: snip-snap, she cut the paper. Snip-snap, the tailor worked quickly. 23. Ascended, meaning went up or rose to a higher place. Examples: the balloon ascended into the sky. They ascended the mountain path. 24. Scratch, meaning to make a small cut or mark with something sharp, or to rub your skin because it itches. Examples: the cat scratched the sofa. He scratched his arm on the branch. 11. Greedily, meaning doing something in a way that shows you want much more than you need, especially with food. Examples: he ate the cake greedily. The kitten drank the milk greedily. 12. Descend, meaning to move downward, go lower, or come down from somewhere higher. Examples: they descended the stairs. He wept over his mistakes.